There we go. I believe Chris is already there. I don't think I've paused it again. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. So tonight we're going to be talking about. Let me grab a lighter here. I forgot a lighter. Some paranormal updates and stuff for the channel, and then we're going to get into what's known as the Saturn retrograde that just started, I guess, last night, and it has to do with maturity, karmic relationships, and stuff like that. So I want to say thank you to Monica for throwing the subject ideas out there earlier when we were chatting. It's awesome. That being said, I've been looking at the apps and stuff and what we can do for channels. And so, what we're probably going to be doing in the future is doing a collab. And so that's why I deleted my post from this morning, because I actually got an answer from some friends in a chat. So going forward, we're going to work on that probably after next weekend's trip, etc. But I'm excited to announce that that is what we're looking at. And so the idea is that myself, Monica, and Matt will get up here. We'll do something a little bit teamwork. And that way, both Paranormal Witchcraft and Matt and Monica and whatever entity they're representing gets a little bit of light. And so that way we're not up here just talking to ourselves. So it was a great conversation earlier. I'm excited for next week. I'm nervous for next week. I've been a scare actor before, but I've never actually attended an event where I'm going to walk around in costume all day long for a couple days. So I have no doubt that once I get there, all the doubts and anxieties will just fade away. But nonetheless, we're excited for that. I think the plan is next week we're going to attend the event, and any spare time we have not attending the event, we'll be trying to do something paranormal, getting things together with friends while we're up there in PA, and uh, seeing if we can't get into a couple things before we head back. So, that being said, if you've never heard of a Saturn retrograde and you're new to it, it's something that's been around. It's just something that, again, it's an astrology thing. I'm not an astrology expert, but it does make sense. And so I thought we'd talk about it today because I see the whole world uh, wrestling with a number of issues, right, in our daily lives. And this retrograde, like the other retrogrades, has a lot of things that it can teach us, how we're going to make it through. And by the way, this retrograde started today and then it goes through December 10th. And so it's giving us a 5-month window to work on maturing, work on unfinished business that might be lingering around from our past, etc. It has a lot. Awesome. Well, good. We'll have to remember to say your thanks to Miss Monica there for that. Because, we're going to start with the number one thing I see. And the biggest change I see isn't just like online. Okay. It's outdoors in the real world in our communities as well, not just in the online communities where everybody spends most of their time. I see community changes all over the board. It doesn't matter if you're part of a social media app or you're just doing your thing out there in the real world. I see a lot of people not being as helpful. I see a lot of people out there not using morality or ethics when they interact with people. It doesn't matter if they're in a drive-through or at a restaurant or on the highway. I see people using less kindness. I see people using way more self-centeredness. People are stuck in flight or fight survival mode. They want to take whatever they can from everyone else because it's all about them right now. Because everybody's in the same shitstorm, but some of us, as a TikToker said earlier that I stumbled on, some of us have a yacht to sail through it. Other people have a raft, right? And other people are just swimming through it with their bare hands. And so it was a really good analogy to put out there in their TikTok. No, I'm not a member of that person's channel. It was just somebody that was on, but I liked that wordage. So Welcome back to Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. Before I get too far into this, I am Tobias Josephson. We run this business with my wife, Fonda Josephson, and 10 other teammates. 11 other teammates, I believe, is correct. 10, sorry. And so I am the face of Paranormal Witchcraft. And so if you don't know who I am, you do now. So welcome. Let's talk about this Saturn Retrograde 2026. And I formatted the script to where this is kind of a challenge for the audience members that tune in, not only for myself, but for all of you. What I like about doing streaming the way I do is I try to include the audience members in everything we do. Like you'll see the more acclimated and more the people getting better at their podcasting skills, right? And so for me, this is where I start. So tonight we're slowing things down, and whether or not you believe in astrology or not doesn't matter. Astrology is a literal yet symbolic, psychological, or a simply just a useful tool. Now, Saturn's retrograde is here to offer opportunities for everyone to ask themselves some honest questions. This is where my job is done. I ask the questions. You guys will engage later in the comments. There's a series of rapid fire questions. So that way it doesn't give people a chance to really think too long about whether they would want to choose a certain answer. The idea is you're just going to fire the first answer that you resonate with later. So Saturn retrograde usually is meant to offer opportunities for us to ask ourselves real hard questions. They're not really here so much to piss everybody off. Retrogrades aren't here to get in your way. Retrogrades aren't here to get you off your game. They're not here to push you into a depressive cycle. All that stuff happens because we allow it as humans. Now, being someone who's just coming off a newly healed cycle himself, and I have a lot of them throughout the year, and I'm still learning what triggers them, etc., right? And so that's what I do when I take a long pause and I take a couple weeks, and that's what I'm doing is I'm nursing a mental health cycle personally, and what I'm doing is I'm digging what has caused it. What emotions are tied to it? Is there something wrong internally with me that's making me feel that way? And then after a few weeks, if I come out of it like I have this time, etc. And for me, that's just the structure of it. And I truly believe, not meant, that these are meant for me to work on my boundaries as I keep maturing and ascending and working on myself. Now, whether or not you do any of that stuff or not, I would highly encourage everyone out there to think about it nonetheless after this live stream. So this year's Saturn retrograde runs from today, which is July 26, 2026, through December 10th, 2026. Now, traditionally, Saturn is usually and mostly associated with our disciplines, our responsibilities, anything where we use structure. So your daily routine. Do you get up and shit, shower, and shave, or do you get up and have a cup of coffee and a smoke, feed your animals, and do it differently? So whatever your structures are, it also includes associations with boundaries, patience, and long-term growth. This is where it's important today. Rather than focusing on predictions, we're going to focus on what we can actually do during this retrograde, just like the last retrograde. We did a live on that one, where we can learn things together that we can actually do on our own, all right, over the coming months to strengthen our lives and to find our true north through the Saturn retrograde. Tonight isn't about fortune telling. It's not about paranormal investigation, but like every live we do, it is about personal responsibility, personal accountability. It's about asking yourselves where you can grow. And we all know places right off the top of our head where we can be working harder at something? Do I have too much of a temper? Do I take too many things that people tell me literally? Do I need to work on my passive aggressivism? Am I somebody who gets themselves taken for granted still? Am I in a toxic relationship? I'm not happy at my job. What should I do? Here's a couple examples for you guys. So tonight isn't about any of that. It's about asking yourselves what we can do about it. Most importantly, it's about hearing from all of you. I see 4 or 5 of you, I think, in the crowd. So welcome, friends. I have a pretty good idea who 2 of you are. We have Mr. Christopher Stant, who is our in-service moderator. All right, trying to engage the conversation there and watching, making sure everyone's going to stay on their side of the road. So far, so good. So let's play a game. Round 1, build your foundation. It's going to run us about 5 minutes, give or take. Now, we're not in a hurry here. If your life were a house, so if my life was a house, Chris, your life was a house, Chris, Monica, I know you're watching from somewhere. You're in Matt's house. All right. Your house was your life. Let's look at it that way. Now, when I look around my house, that's probably a better example. Instead of looking at your life like a house, why don't you look at your life and where you're residing? Okay. And I'll tell you exactly. Mine needs a little bit of straightening up, doesn't it? I had to come in here and straighten up the office because you have so many cat toys and stuff, and with all the strays over the past couple weeks, and it's a small house, right? And so I had to do a little bit of house cleaning. And so it's a good example to use because now I just discovered a way in my mind to use it as a literal example. If our lives are being represented by the places we're staying at right now and all the chaos that we're not telling our friends or followers that are going on behind the scenes in our individual lives, it's pretty chaotic, isn't it? It's a lot to manage, from medical bills to, shitty jobs to, the taxes and the paychecks. And then you add everything that we've talked about in the past few months, all the rising prices and the rising costs for everything. And what does that do? People ended up staying home more than they do going out. So now you find yourselves missing your friends. You might start becoming lonely. You're not sleeping as good because everything feels like pressure. Okay. So let's talk about it. Which room in your house that signifies your life do you think needs the most repairs first? And I have a list of examples. So it asks to have viewers choose one of these examples. So is it finances? Is it your relationships, business or personal? Is it the room that houses your mental health? Is it the room in your life's house where your physical health resides? How about the room for spiritual practice, the room of career or family? And the idea is you guys are going to pick the first one that you resonate and simply just type those in the comments. Which room in your house do you think needs repairs first? Is it finances, relationships, mental health, physical health, spiritual practice, careers, family, or other? There's no right or wrong answers here. Whatever is causing you the most amount of problems right now. It could be credit card debt, right? Everybody's trying to pay down their credit card debt, right? And so we have no money between paychecks. And what do? You end up using your credit cards to live. So practical tools we're going to be discussing throughout the live stream tonight that we can all use, myself included. All right, get yourself a planner or a notebook. Okay, I have numerous right next to me. You can go to a thrift store, you can go to Dollar General, you can go to Walmart, you can go to anywhere you want, or you can just simply get another notebook for even cheaper. All right, and that would be counted as a budget notebook or a notebook for a specificity if you wanted to work on something. It's recommended that people adopt using a calendar for these exercises for the retrograde. I'll explain why in a minute. And if you feel the need, a micro goal sheet where you can set yourself up micro goals. Like, I have to make a phone call here that I don't want to make. So why don't you make that a micro goal? That way you've made a phone call that you really don't want to fucking do. And then that way you can check it off. I've heard of some people doing that. Now, you can use a chalkboard, you can use a whiteboard, you can also adopt using a journal. So again, there's multiple ways you can track yourselves through the Saturn retrograde and trying this accountability challenge. Question: what's one thing that each of you in the audience thinks you can improve on this week? It doesn't have to be anything super important. It could be, I want to work on making myself more vocal online, right? Maybe you're passive aggressive and you just don't trust anybody online. So maybe that's a micro goal that some of you can use. Okay. And by the way, when I disappear for a few weeks and quietly nurse my mental health cycles, that's really not me hiding. It is, but it isn't, I guess I should probably say, because I'm hiding to make sure that I'm protecting myself enough from not being affected by social media or anything like that. So I guess it's a form of personal gatekeeping, I guess, if we have to look at it that way. But what's one thing that I could improve on this week? Well, I'm working on it right now, getting up here, doing a live. I'm not fully comfortable getting back up here and getting started because there was a couple things I wanted to add to the live streams before we got back up here, but I realized that it's just a money thing, and so that is what it is. So I decided, what the fuck, right? So one thing I can prove on, I'm doing it here right now. I'm getting back up on the saddle, okay, taking a ride, and that's what I'm going to be working on. So there'll probably be at least one more live this week, but it'll be for the Brotherhood of Male Witches. We have Lamaze coming up. Okay, I can't pronounce it correctly. I butcher it, and so I'm not going to try to pronounce it until I can pronounce it correctly. And so we're probably going to be doing something for that and something for the full moon in the next couple days. And I figured we might as well include that with the Brotherhood of Male Witches on Facebook. Okay, so other things that I wrote down, because I actually write down some notes here on the bottom of what might be affecting people, and this is just outside of the retrograde fucking with everybody. Okay, bills, extra bills right now. We have family structure dissipating, right? People are losing their jobs, being laid off, people close to retirement age. We have people maybe that are older who are now moving in with their kids, etc., because life has just become so hard. So I wrote down a list of things that might be affecting people in general across the globe. It doesn't matter to me who you are. It doesn't matter to me if you're swimming through this retrograde or if you have a yacht. We're all going through the same shitstorm. So the goal of these is that we're trying to raise awareness in the fact that our interpersonal relationships online need a lot of improvement. We need to bring morality back to the way we treat each other online. Instead of chasing each other in all of the chats like we do on social media platforms, which is what happens. You have people chasing each other to engage conversation. Sometimes you have a good conversation going, but it's not a constant thing, right? So things like that, I've seen changes like that in the social media apps where I'm a member of at least a dozen chat groups and a dozen podcasting teams because they're all my friends and they're great people. But what I find is there's a lacking of conversation on a consistent basis. Now, I don't know if that comes from the lack of trust that has now been fostered online or what that is. But nonetheless, that's something we all personally have to contend with. Sometimes it gets in your head because you feel like every live stream is in direct competition with what's out there across the globe. The people that are doing it way better than I am right now. They have the songs coming in, they have the songs going out, and they have the more popular people, and they have the teams behind the scenes helping them get the structure going for each episode, sharing and all that. So I don't have that luxury. Not yet. And so, like I announced at the beginning of this podcast, it is coming finally. Some positive karmic help in what I've been petitioning in so many different ways online, and people just, I don't know, they missed the mark, I guess, or didn't understand. And so it is what it is, right? So, I've seen an increase in people's bills across the board. Medical bills are climbing. All right. And you have medical bills treating you like they're the IRS, and they're going to cut your foot off if you don't pay $1 towards a bill. Let me enlighten the entire world on this. You know what I tell medical people? You do what you think you need to do. You want to think that calling me every day for any number of medical bills I have is going to make your corporation feel better because your rates are just so full of shit. Well, you just keep doing it and you have a nice day. You stop letting them getting under your skin, and you set that personal boundary, because they're all going to keep trying to push the envelope with people until people really do have had enough of all that pressure and go ballistic. So the best piece of advice I can tell people when it comes to medical bills is they want you to be stuck in that mindset of fear. Now, unless you have a life-threatening illness, in which I truly believe they can't come after you for anything. But I hear a lot of people complain about that. Medical bills is a big one. Credit cards, that's another one. Okay. Another one I see a lot of lately is people are having to work more than one job to get along. Now, that's something we can talk about for a minute, because my wife works overtime right now, and that's what she does. She works about 120 to 140 hours every 2 weeks. Now, I can tell you she has a degree, a very nice degree, and she has to work all that overtime just to cover the basic bills, right? And so that's why I bring that up, because I know we're not the only couple, we're not the only person out there struggling with the financial. Everyone's got their hand out. It's either YouTube or ChatGPT or Meta or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, right? Or ChatGPT or StreamYard or OBS, all so you guys can get up here and do this and maybe have 4 or 5 people tune in to every one of your streams. And then you get off and then you try even harder. I feel like people are just shooting themselves in the foot doing that. Because what happened to the fun online in the past few years? That's why I'm creating this message style of positivity and bringing back responsibility and ethics to the social media platforms, because I don't see any. I don't see anybody reaching out enough. I am fortunate enough to be part of a few groups within the cauldron, between Two Worlds and others, that actually do that. We say good morning to each other. We ask each other how we are, how we're feeling. But beyond those, Positively Paranormal is another one. All right. Paranormal Witchcraft LLC, Brotherhood of Male Witches, which I don't share as much as I used to, my groups. These are groups that we get up every day and we go, hey, how you guys doing? But beyond that, any other chat groups, there's almost nothing going on. It's almost like those other chats just aren't interested in being friends anymore. They've parted ways. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's the world stress pulling people away from their passions. I'm not sure. I haven't figured it out yet. But I've noticed it enough to know that, those podcasts we just mentioned a few minutes ago, that's like 5 positive podcasts. And when I tell you guys, I'm a member of at least a dozen. I mean, there's some that just, it's crickets for weeks on end. So chats, I thought, were created to be a friendly place where people actually talk to you and want to get to know you as a person. So what I've realized over the past couple of years is that has changed. Only certain people are allowed in certain chat groups, and even then, sometimes it makes you wonder why, especially if you don't have the camaraderie going. So, what's the answer, friends? Our team doesn't know the answer. Other teams don't know the answer either. We talk about it a lot. We really wish people would just pull their heads out of their ass and stop being cocksuckers to each other, but they don't want to do it. I'll tell you why. Because again, it escalates, and anything that escalates on social media platforms gets rewarded. Whereas people who are using ethics and responsibility and trying to raise awareness and positivity and treating each other with kindness and respect doesn't get rewarded because why? It doesn't really create any buzz. So all these apps are just being lazy, and they're just not telling you guys that. They don't want to employ humans to do it the right way anymore. So they have all these bots just looking for key things worth rewarding. The rest don't even get any attention. That sounds like a one-sided platform, doesn't it? But most people don't stop and think about it. Okay. That's why it takes longer to be popular. That's why it takes longer to be a good podcaster, because right now everybody's trying to do that. Okay. And inadvertently, sometimes, probably in competition with their friends, drama arises. All right. And I say this because I'm aware of it happening. Why? I don't know. People's egos get the better of them. Passive aggressive behaviors happens within the teams. They can't bring their problems to light, so what happens? The bickering, and then they pull apart. That's one of my theories as why. So guys, round number 2, accountability check. Now notice I did say it would take 5 minutes, but it actually took around 20. We have Monica in the crowd, my love. Yeah, you have a chat now. There you go. Since COVID, people have become feral. They have, because they don't understand that this is reality, but it's not at the same time. It's not like I have Monica sitting right next to me. Okay. And so, but that being said, it doesn't mean I can go, that person in the crowd, rah, 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 rah. Okay. And that's what you're seeing a lot in the paranormal communities and the witchcraft communities, is there's a bunch of feral people going around trying to be new entrepreneurs. They're all trying to monetize, right? And they're all doing that, just having a problem with one another. Don't be those individuals. You'll notice on those apps, that's why I don't engage a lot during the day, is because that's all I see. Is it's paranormal teams throwing rocks at each other. We are starting to see more paranormal teams like Positively Paranormal, Shared Paranormal, Paranormal Cares, and other like that are actually starting to do the same thing. Try to get a message out there like, hey, why are we fighting with each other? Why are we creating drama within our communities? Why are we creating arguments and debates within the teams? What are we doing, right? And so we'll see. Let's hope that Para-Unity actually figures it out, okay? But, we'll see. I have my doubts, and that's, nothing against nobody. It's just I'm not sure it can be pulled off at this point. I would like to believe it can, but again, the communities, they need to calm down a bit, and I'm not interested in jumping back in that mosh pit of he said, she said, I am, look at me, look at me, look at us, look at us, look at us. I'm not into that, okay? Accountability check, okay? So Saturn asks us a question. Here's where we get into a little bit more of the bread and butter of what we're talking about. What responsibility have we each been avoiding? So what responsibility have I been avoiding personally? Well, personal responsibility avoidance, probably the fact that I took a pause, right? That's probably something that wasn't very responsible, but at the same time, when it came to my mental health, it was. So I'm not going to use that as an example because I think what I did was responsible, right? Anytime I have a mental fracture, I will pull back because I don't want it to affect my personal relationships, my friends on social apps, right? And it's really, beyond the encouragement, these are things I have to get through on my own, like everybody else. It's just the difference is I don't rely on Paxil or Lenova or anything like that. I have a thing against Big Pharma, all right? And I don't think Big Pharma any longer has a right to exist, because they are out for themselves and they will probably kill more people than they help. I'm sorry, but that's all I see. Okay. You're taking a pill to try to get rid of something that's going to cause any number of side effects that most of the time are worse if you follow those commercials. Seriously, They're coming out with a new medication every day now. That should be alarming to the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, because from the time I was 20 to the time till I was about 40, we didn't have any of this. You had a medical commercial every other commercial. I mean, it's absolutely insane how greedy they are. Okay. And they disguise it as a miracle drug. It's not. There's a lot of people that actually can't handle those drugs, and they don't talk about the negative side effects because they're just risks. But there's so much of an underbelly of disinformation with I don't want to get into it today. All right. So, needless to say, Big Pharma has some ties that make it really, really toxic. Big Pharma has done some things that show it's really, really toxic to the majority of the population. Okay. All it is taking more money out of your pocket towards your medical bills that you should probably putting towards food, electricity, or rent. And probably most of the time, adopting a slightly healthier lifestyle will negate half the pills they've come up with. But, that's just my personal opinion. It just seems like all of a sudden, everything's got to be about a pill fixing everybody's this or that, right? And I understand for the important medications that people are using out there right now that are pretty popular. That's a different story. I'm talking about psychotic medication and stuff like that. So anyways, we'll get back to topic. So what thing have I been avoiding myself? Well, honestly, I avoided mowing the lawn because it needed to be done 4 days ago. But with the heat and humidity, I didn't want to do it. No, I'm kidding. Seriously, there's been a couple adulting things that I am working with in the background that I have been avoiding because they do require making phone calls and putting up with agencies and corporations that I have absolutely no tolerance for. But nonetheless, I have to go through these journeys. And so I will be getting to those because I know Monica and Fonda will never let me forget them until I do. And Fonda's pretty good at prodding me. So that being said, I am getting to those. But I think that admitting that I'm fallible and human like everybody else kind of gives everybody a good perspective of who I am. And that's why I like to do these lives and show people a little bit about who I am. Transparency, the bluntness, etc. So here's some examples for you guys, and let's take some more comments. Since COVID, people have become feral. Yes, it is the year of the horse. I thought it was that's right. It is the year of the fire horse. Duh! And as you guys can tell, I don't sleep well during these episodes. And so last night I slept okay. We're getting there, the year of change. And we have a crumbling world, my love. I think I agree with you. I think our country is crumbling by the day. And I think its leaders should often pay attention to us podcasters instead of paying attention to the news outlets. But, they're too busy paying attention to the ratings and stuff. So nonetheless, but, like we've said in other podcasts, I have my opinions there too. If they would just try compromising more instead of pointing fingers on which side is wrong or more wrong than the other side, that's most of the problem right now when it comes to any world government is they have too many fingers in each other's face and they forget about what the peoples actually want. And that's all the P word is right now. That's all it is one big fucking game and one big fucking show. All right. I said it last week. I don't understand why people put their hate, that much hate, on one individual or one organization or any of that, because you're wasting that hate. Okay, and I don't believe humans really should be hating as much as they are right now. But, people seem to be enjoying themselves out there doing it. So if that's you, go ahead and keep doing it. But I'm not one of those people. I look at you and just think, as you're driving 100 by me going, how unintelligent are you going 100 during a rainstorm in between semis? I actually give those people empathy. And I do this as they go by. And that's a form of calling karma. Those people need to learn their own lessons, right? So What responsibility does the rest of you need to work on? Do you need to work on calling someone or someplace, making more amends to people where you've been wrong? I've done those, and I do those as often as necessary. Paying a debt you didn't want to pay. Now, that one I can see why people put off, because right now people are robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Like I said, some people are trying to attack their medical bills. Other people are trying to attack credit card debts. And when you do that, right, you're shooting yourself in the foot somewhere. And then you have a new form of frustration cropping up, all right? And that happens. Making that doctor's appointment to be healthier. I've done that for years and years. And if I didn't have the wife I had, I probably wouldn't do half the shit I do, etc. Is it a doctor's appointment? Is it writing a book? Is it exercising? Something you can do for yourself over the next 5 months that's going to take your mind away from whatever's bothering you out in the world. Because again, I'll tell everybody, I don't turn on the news, everybody, every day and go, what's going on now? Oh, Mr. T's doing this. This country's doing that. Oh, there's this going on over there. This country's doing that. There was 18,000 different murders, and here's their names and what. That happens every day, all over the globe. Every day. Okay? And that's why I don't watch the news, because it's went from positive to nothing but what's wrong with the world, 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 what's wrong with the world. And it's no longer meant to keep you guys safe. It's meant to confuse most of you, depending on which channel or platform you're going to for your news outlets. So I agree with those people out there telling you all to stop tuning into mainstream news. And I don't even tune into the news. I haven't for years. Those people will take you all for granted. They'll take you for a loop. They'll take you for a ride, because they know most of you lean one side or the other. Think for yourselves. Think critically. Make your own thoughts. If it sounds shady, it probably is shady. Most of them sound shady from the moment I see them on TV, and I just go back to the weather. That's the truth. Because those people want to dominate your time and attention as well. All right. And I think most of us can find better things to do than tuning into the news every day for a half hour while we wake up, only to get more desensitized and disgusted with our lives that we're about to embark on for our day as we go off to work. That's why I stopped doing it years ago. Why would I want to wake up, tune on the news, and get all pissed off, then go to work and have a bad day? And so something had to give. I couldn't quit my job, so I quit watching the news. I'd call for you. Awesome. I like that. I wish I could find a plan alternative for your issues. You never know. I have a feeling medical research has answers for things, but it's amount of monetary tier and privilege, and that's why most of us don't know about all of it. Like hearing about the med beds, I have no doubt there's a possibility those exist somewhere, but those are only reserved for the elite, right? We couldn't even dream to fathom to afford those, even though you could lay in those and they heal most of your ailments, right? The elite don't like to share with people. They like to watch us suffer like ant farms. So, guys, whichever one it is, you guys know. It could even be learning something new. I try to do that on a weekly or monthly basis. If I'm not watching something paranormal, I'm watching something on ufology and disclosure, because that's getting kind of entertaining right now. And like I said last week, to all the governments of the world, either put up or shut up. You either have the crafts that you can show us, or you don't, or you have the bodies and you'll show us, or you're not going to. Either way, it's where the world is. It's not just America. It's every country of the world. You either show us what you got from the UFOs and the terrestrials and the intelligent life that you've discovered over the last 80 years across the globe. Doesn't matter what country found it. And show your people what you really have, or stop talking about it, period. Because it's annoying. It's a he said, she said telephone game, and it's annoying. So if I'm not watching that, I'm doing something craft related, or we do a lot of kitty rescue help outside with the strays. And so any number of days we're feeding anywhere from 4 to 6 strays. So guys, let's get into Round 3, your personal boundaries. This question, the focus of this round is, where do you need healthier boundaries? I would say number 1, people need to adopt more healthy boundaries on social media. I see too many people still caring about things, jumping into gossip subjects that really just, who the hell cares why people are following Annabelle around at this point? I just personally don't care anymore. Let those people just think it's an experience, because the truth is, I've said it and I've seen many other people on podcasts say it. There's no way that real doll is parading around the country. There's no fucking way. All right. And if those owners are, shame on them. I'll join everyone in saying that. Okay. But again, those things and some of the other gossip and drama that's going on, nonetheless, in the paranormal community, all the drama is just disgusting. Okay. It really is. So, number 1, people can work on that. Okay. That's why I don't talk to a lot of teams or join a lot of groups over there anymore, because I just see them posting on that stuff. And it's like, why? Why are we following those toxic subjects around? Because all they do is garner gossiping, debating, and arguing. And then you get each other reported. And then there's more arguing. And then there's crap talking. And I just don't understand why the paranormal community can't just mature itself. I don't understand how hard it is to be a mature fucking person on this planet. Especially if you're calling yourself a paranormal anything. I don't understand the logic with half those individuals. Right? So again, they seem to be happy doing it, so that's on them. But I'm just saying, there's a reason why. I'll say it again. I know a lot. I'm not interested in talking to many. That's why, because there's too many red flags that give away their true intentions. What they're really trying to do is to skyrocket their way to fame. I'm sorry, following around the paranormal gossip or following around the Annabelle gossip or just becoming a chain paraconvention person is not necessarily going to skyrocket yourself to paranormal celebrity. Maybe treating people nicely would, helping people coming up in the paranormal community get better would, but I don't see very many of them doing that. Again, be careful who you follow over there. All right. There's a lot of them that will take you for granted or burn you the first chance they get. I know, because it's happened to us. Either people don't like you and they're too afraid to get in your face and tell you why. And, you call them cowards like we do. Okay. There's no reason why you can't tell us or anyone else why you don't want to work with them if communications fail. And it's the number 1 thing I see happening, the passive aggressiveness. Because it's a waste of time and effort, especially in the paranormal communities. You're all trying to do the same thing and throwing each other under the bus. I learned real quick after it happened to us before we started this business that most of them will throw you under the bus and do the little whisper behind your back, and they'll tell all their friends not to follow your channel and your groups because they think you'll never find out, because they think they're smarter than you, and they all do that. I've tried to tell so many friends over there in the paranormal, okay, I don't understand why Jason Hawes or anyone else out there, any number of paranormal celebrity, won't talk to me, because you're trying too hard. And because most of them really don't give a fuck. They're not interested in helping others, most of them. Some of them have actually said it. I'm not here to help others. I worked hard to get here. You all got to do it on your own. There's a lot of that mentality going around. But there are some teams that are starting to crop up asking for more ethical and responsible and mature treatment towards one another. So we are all for supporting those teams, Perth Paranormal and the likes. So this is accountability, right? Accountability, guys. Where do you need healthy boundaries? Social media should be number 1 for a lot of people, because I see a lot of people struggling with that. I know I'm silent, and a lot of people immediately take that as I'm somebody who's shady. I'm somebody who's hiding something from them. I'm somebody who's not telling them something. I'm just too quiet for a reason. When the truth is trust has to be earned with me. I'm going to say it again. Titles don't matter. That's great. You have a title, man. I'm interested in who you are as a person, male or female. And your title throwing in my face all the time, that just makes me not want to talk to you. I've been doing this for 50. I've been doing this for 30. I've gone 18 gazillion places. I have 20 books. That's not why I reached out to you. It's not why I reached out to you at all. But that's what I found in the last year or so. Everyone just seems to automatically just throw their rap sheet. This is where and who. And now, what we're looking for at Paranormal Witchcraft LLC is people like Matt and Monica. The Clay and Tasha's, the ones that actually want to get together and do a little bit of collaborating, do a little bit of partnership in the paranormal or witchcraft. Doesn't matter to us. We're not looking for the rest of the people that are just giving us the lip service most of the time. So where do you need healthy boundaries? I'm going to say most people that I see struggling on social media should start there. That's just my advice. Take it or leave it. Get mad at me if you want, but I see a lot of people using a lot of passive aggressivism. Just be you. If people don't like you, oh well. There's something I learned from Joe Rogan, actually. Joe Rogan once said that one of the best things I ever learned about going online and doing streaming and stuff was somebody pulled me aside one time after a really important event, and I forget who Joe Rogan's guest was, but it was a really popular person, was don't look in the comments. And what they meant was there's going to be haters no matter where you go. If a good example of that is on the highway right now. Everybody thinks they're better driver than you, and they need to go faster than you, and they need to get there before you. That's people in real time showing you how much they care about other people. I want everyone out there to pay attention when you're driving around. How many people are actually using ethics when they drive? They're not. They're showing how unintelligent they are by doing everything but driving responsibly. You know what I do when they drive by my window? I've yet to have anybody clip me. Because anybody who wants to drive like that, right, thinks life is a game. And when you think life is a game, you're not taking life seriously. And if you're not going to take life seriously, you deserve the karma you have coming to you. And it doesn't mean that I have to get upset at people like that anymore. Because I realized that was a way for me to get out of my road rage, is you just send karma at them because they really think they're better than everyone on the highway. Now think about it. You're in a place like Chicago or in Gettysburg or, over in Mass by Boston where it's absolutely nuts on the pike, right? Everybody driving like that thinks they're better than you are. I want you guys to remember that because that's how they're driving. Get out of my way. I need to get in front of you now. You're interrupting me. I want to go 100 and I want to drive like a fucking idiot. And I need to get in front of you because that's how smart I am. I'm not smart enough to realize I'm driving a death machine. Think about that. Every time somebody meow, meow, it's going to remind you of it every time. That's what they're doing. They really think they're kings of the worlds out there, guys. And they're not. And flip note of that is lately I drive by 2 accidents on every trip when I go back home. This is hands to gods and goddesses. I'm not kidding you guys. And so what is it going to take for humanity to wake up? I don't know. Okay. The only thing that people listen to is trauma, right? So think about that, because that's, one of the biggest pet peeves I had to get over. And it took years because I used to chase people down. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you that you have to drive like that? There's no intelligence for driving a car like you stole it. None. None. Not at all. Okay? So if you drive like that, don't ever tell me you drive like that, because that's going to be a problem with me. I don't argue much, but that's something I will argue over, because it's an absolute lack of personal safety and responsibility. The fact that people think they can drive like that for the rest of their lives, okay? If half those people make it past 50, I'll be surprised. So, do you need to work on boundaries with family in your inter-family structure, depending on where you stay? There's a lot of blended families right now in the world. We're a blended family. We got Fondo's kiddos. One of them was just here on a turnaround trip from Michigan to grab some more stuff, and then headed back out. And so we're a blended family, because we got my daughters, who, Fonda is stepmama too. And then, I'm just Tobias to her kiddos, and so we're a blended family that way. And so we actually try to work on that in real time, right? Like, we don't care that we piss each other off. We try to really work on our relationship in real time. So, and we're getting there. Now, does that mean we succeed all the time? No, but it's the fact that as a family unit, we're not willing to give up on letting the family structure crumble. And that's the other thing that it brings me to, is that's the thing I see ruining this planet more than anything else, is the fact that AI, technology, social media do not preach, all right, or at least try to uphold anything like a family structure or value center or energy even on their social media platforms. They only reward the behavior that escalates. Should show most people they don't have your highest good in mind anymore. It's just become your account is a dollar number. Your problems in your real world don't matter to anybody right now. Why? Before the epidemic, people actually showed a shred of caring about you. And what I'm going to say on camera here may ruffle some feathers. Remember, on this channel, we've said it multiple times, if you're going to be here, you're going to have to be able to handle everything we talk about. And some of our subject matter may ruffle people's feathers. We're not here to attack you. We're not here to upset you. If you find yourself being affected, remember, that's meant to teach you something, okay? The family structure's crumbling. And if you think about that statement, and then you look at what we were just saying about how even in chats, it's hard to have daily conversations, even sometimes, or even for weeks, just go silent. It shows you the amount of self-centeredness out there, right? So it makes me wonder why I share 15 groups like a madman some days. Why am I sharing their podcast repeatedly? Why am I tuning into their shows, right? You ever wonder about that? Why you do so much of that? Right? That's why I only do it for those 15. Because like I've been saying this whole podcast, the rest of the communities, they're just on some bullshit. Okay? We don't know what it is, as the teams that are trying to get more positivity going, as teams that are trying to cut through the disinformation that seems to run rampant on social media platforms, the scammer epidemic that's going through the social media apps right now. If you guys follow Within the Cauldron at all, they're going to be having Miss Luna Del Rey on, and you guys aren't going to want to miss her. I caught her on Flying Chariots about 6 months ago or so with Dustin, and tuned into that, where there's some issues. And I'm going to say she does a good show, so you're going to want to tune into that. And she is someone who's prolific, a little bit like me, isn't afraid to get up and talk about the issues that are going on, because until we get up and band together as the positive ones, all those negative motherfuckers aren't going to stop being hackers. They're not going to stop being trollers in the paranormal, where they think they can just pick a fight with any paranormal team and talk shit about paranormal teams on social media, right? Until we start banding together as the positive teams and the negative ones see it, until it's enough of us to where they're afraid of continuing their behavior, it's going to continue. Okay? So we're looking for people who are sick and tired of being afraid and passive aggressive. We're looking for people that are tired of being stepped on and beat up, because those people will continue to do that, all right, until we stop them as a collective. It's very clear now. The apps are no longer truly really interested, or they do not have the real capability to help us out and find every single scammer out there without fucking things up and making it worse for us on the social apps. So we're going to have to use a little discernment. Okay. So is it family? Is it friends? Is it your work environment? I know friends right now, and my daughter even Fonda, that are all looking for better opportunities in the world, because workplaces think they can just treat everyone like we're slaves. That's why I left my job at Jewel Osco 2 years ago. Almost, it'll be to the day in a month. I walked out 2 years ago, and Jewel Osco could pay me $100,000 a year right off the bat to start, and I would walk away. That's how bad they treated me. It's going to be bad blood forever because they screwed with my daughters. So, and these corporations will do that. All right. They had my medical benefits turned off, etc. And they're doing shady shit to everybody behind the scenes. Doesn't matter if it's supermarket, it's even places, chemical warehouses, major warehouses of the major brands. I'm trying so hard not to say the names so this app doesn't flag me for it. Okay. All these places in real time are treating everyone like we're slaves right now. Okay. That's why everyone who comes home to you and they're crabby and they just want personal time to decompress, because jobs think they can do the same thing. So what responsibility has the world been avoiding? Well, the powers that be are avoiding the fact that they owe all of us a responsibility of just being better fucking people. Doesn't matter if it's our president or another country's president, they all got to get their heads out of their asses. That's my opinion. Okay. I don't play the capital P game. Again, that's politics, because I see that as people being people. They just align to whatever values they have. But all together, they're all a fucking hot mess, and most of them are lying to us. So stop looking to them with your trust. All right. And just stop talking about it. Because every time you talk negatively or positively, guess what? You're still talking about them. So you know what? They just don't care. My advice is truly just stop voting. That would get everyone in this country's attention real quick, won't it? Because nobody in this country would vote anymore. We all just boycott this upcoming election. Everybody in the country, we just don't show up. And that's it. You have to hit them where the money is. That's all I can tell people. But creating more social media groups to combat it and stuff like that, I'm not sure that's the answer. You have to cut the money out. Until somebody can find a way to cut the money out from the world's organizations and the world's governments, their egos are going to continue to inflate, and they're going to continue to using their toxic behaviors behind their governments and their corporations. So the fact that people continually just get madder and madder when they hear that just boggles my mind, because it's not that hard to figure out what's happening. You kill the money, you stop, and you will chop all the heads off the beasts. It's that simple. Instead of creating groups or creating rioting, or it's not going to solve anything, because you're still causing escalation in mass media news outlets, and that boosts ratings, gets them talked about, good or bad. And if you talk about somebody, good or bad, you're still talking about them. So don't do it. Treat them like they've treated everyone around the country, their peoples. They ignore their peoples, we ignore them. It's not that hard to figure out. Instead of rioting, you just ignore them. You show them how much their title means to you now as free Americans. You just stop giving them attention. Stop giving them attention, they stop getting talked about. They stop getting talked about, nobody cares who they are anymore, and then they go away. Just saying. Daily checklist. So, guys, we have some comments. Dear gods, do I need strength right now? Well, yeah. Poor mental health is a big one right now, sweetheart. I struggle with it. A lot of people I know struggle with it. Most people online are struggling with it. That's why here at Paranormal Witchcraft LLC, we talk about dual diagnosis a lot, because I am a dual diagnosis warrior. I'm a recovery warrior, and I stand up against the masses for anybody out there who doesn't have a voice for that. Okay. And I'm telling you, you don't have to be passive aggressive on social media. Okay. Instead of reporting people, you just ignore them. I don't understand why that's so hard to figure out. You ignore somebody enough, what happens? They go away. So instead, we're doing cat fights online still, and we're acting like we're in grade school and junior high and high school, and it's a popularity contest. And with the paranormal, it's all about who has the best outfits and the best costumes and the best episodes and the best friends and the most money and the most contacts and the most properties and the most influence. And that's bullshit. Because if you're not doing anything good with that influence, what good is that influence? Right? But that's neither here nor there. So my boundaries, as you can clearly tell, are geared towards social media. Why? Well, let's see. I've been hacked. And by the way, Meta, I'm the one who found my own hacker. How bad is that you find your own hacker on your own profile, on your own business account for Meta? Meaning I pay for Meta every month. And what do they do to help me? It got me hacked. It got me restricted multiple times. Almost got me shut down. That's how good social media apps have when it comes to our highest good. So when people say I should monetize on TikTok or on Facebook, the reason I don't is because what if I get restricted again? What if somebody for some reason on Tik gets me banned that doesn't know me? Because it's going around right now. People reporting people just for the fuck of it. Now there's a month where no money's coming in. That's why I've never done it. It's why I haven't jumped on the TikTok board like everybody else. I have to have total trust in the apps that I'm using. Right now, I have 90% trust in this app. It's not 100, but it's better than Facebook. Because what Meta doesn't realize is they are treating everyone else like everything that happens there is our problem. And it's not. It is theirs. They're doing nothing to help the app itself get cleaned. It's not sending the bots after all the scammers accounts. It's not sending the bots after all the hacking accounts that are getting sent in by people like me that are finding their own hackers. So what is it they're really doing? They're too busy building the data centers. That's the truth, my friends. That's why I don't jump on the AI bandwagon like everybody else, because I truly believe it is a negative aspect being forced on humanity. And none of us have, I shouldn't say none of us, most of us don't have even an iota of what it means to use any of that stuff responsibly, because look at what they're doing all over the place. Meme here, meme there, episode there, using every bell and whistle that comes out, shoving it in your face. There's millions of paranormal teams now. There's millions of witchcraft teams now. How do you break through this? Not very easy, is it? That's what I've been struggling with. Do I continue to try to compete with those people who are more financially able to get into the apps and get into all that stuff? All right. Or do I do what I'm going to do after tonight, is get into the apps again myself, because I've never been able to let myself fully give up on things. And I know that eventually I'm going to figure it out and do it that way. Right. So it makes you wonder. And then we have our friends, Monica and Matt, that we'll be working with soon enough. So that'll help. So again, one man, two groups. All right. Brotherhood has 13,000 people. Nobody wants to engage there either. People talk about it. People asked me to reach out. I reached out. Guess what happened? Crickets, Chris. Now, as much as I appreciate your posts, I I almost think they're counterintuitive now because there's just so much hate online. And that's nothing against you because you love me and you're trying to help with those posts. But when I read those posts, I can see how all those haters out there could use that as fire against us. Well, you guys are just over there whining. I'm not whining. Chris is trying to help our channels. He's trying to help his channels. We're trying to help everyone else's channels. But to the untrained eye who just comes across our entities, right, that may be immature and full of crap and is just looking to start a fight, it's posts like that that people are picking apart. And so as much as I love my friends, I'm going to encourage all my friends to protect your personal energy right now. Okay? Because I don't know where any of these people are at on the social media apps, but they are trying to become like ninjas over there, and they're reporting people, getting people restricted. They're hacking people still. So I want you all to really be careful with what you're posting. I'm serious. All right. These people go around and they think it's funny that they're interrupting your lives, that they're messing with your personal accounts. It's not funny. So I'd rather you guys cease and assist with the posting so that way you can keep your entities safe, right? But if you want, that's up to you. I'm not going to stop you either, though, because I know your enthusiasm. I'm just saying. All right, be careful out there, guys. I can't tell you, there's probably not a day that goes by where I don't get a private DM on some kind of bullshit happening, either in the paranormal or the witchcraft communities. It's absolutely, they have to mature. How? I don't know. We're trying to promote maturity. We're trying to bring ethics back to live streaming. We're trying to actually get people to be responsible and respectful. I've been blown off by people I was supposed to meet in the paranormal before. And when that happened, I didn't meet them. And it created a quarrel because they wanted me to chase them. I don't chase people. I'm sorry. I don't understand the game. You either want to work with people or you don't. You want to be friends or you don't. You got to make up your own minds out there. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to chase you either. So good luck with getting popular, but I don't understand. So we have some comments. AI is not the thing that everyone thinks it is. No, I fully believe that there's a very evil aspect to it. People don't know how to handle that much power at their fingertips. It's very clear. Okay? Because now they're making all kinds of episodes on all kinds of things and doing all kinds of crazy things with it that they really shouldn't be doing. Like, why would you make a thing with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and then Jason Momoa and someone else, and I think there's a couple other celebs, and not ask their opinion and then just create a fight scene? Like, what kind of person, and I don't care if that's your job and you have a degree, like logic. There's no logic being used with AI, the kids using AI. I hear there's teenagers out there trying to diagnose their mental health. No, that is not what AI is for. AI is not there to solve all your world's problems. AI can also not make you more intelligent. You have to have enough brains to know how to use it properly. Like, some of our friends doing their podcasting is the proper way to use all of it. Instead of those other people who, I'll call them keyboard warrior practicers, that go and join groups. And then I look at things that get flagged in the spam folders for groups, and they create these long book things with AI graphics. It's like, oh my God, well, I made that. Well, no, you went to AI, you asked a question, it made that for you. You called it yours. Do you call that original content or not? Right? So that's the example that we're fighting at the Brotherhood of Male Witches, is we don't want to see that type of witchcraft in the Brotherhood of Male Witches. We want to see more traditional crafting. You're going to use your hands to do it. You're going to crack the book open. You're going to feel the ingredients. You're going to set the altar up. You're going to hold the ruins and the tarots in your hand. You're not just going to do AI virtual tarot spreads and there's a whole bunch of people out there that love doing it that way. And that's great on them. That really is. I'm glad there's so many people that enjoy it. We're just not one of those groups that's going to do it. Okay. So you can keep pounding our door. You can keep sending your hate mail to me. You can keep telling me I'm a shitty witch, whatever it is you all want to do there at Brotherhood. But we're still not going to allow memeage. Okay. I'm sorry. We want you to use your brain, your materials, and show us. Okay. So that was a great example I fell into. People want the quick alternative, especially right now. Now, there's unfortunately a lot of beginning groups in the witchcraft communities that I send empathy to, because there's so much. You can tell that's one of my pet peeve people, because we live in a small residential, very close knit little neighborhood here, and that prick with his motorcycle is going to get it from me one day, but not today, because he does that because I don't know. I had to ask around about this couple. They live around the corner, a couple blocks around, and they're bikers, and they're just the hard ass type. And apparently, I'm supposed to just let them go, and I'm like, no, I don't care if people are bikers. I have biker friends, and I'm friends with Matt, for Christ's sake. I'm all biker. Matt and Tasha and Clay, and the only difference is that I can't afford a motorcycle, but I guarantee you guys I would ride a motorcycle. So that didn't deter me. So I was like, I don't care about that. What is this guy's problem? Well, they're just in some kind of gang, and they're kind of a rough gang, and they just like to piss people off. And I'm like, all right, I guess. And so every now and then I go out there and I kind of stare at them like this in the yard and just kind of watch them. Just like this. And he looks at me. They'll turn their head when they go by. They look right at me. And they kind of smirk. I just wave. So that's real time mentality right there. That used to be when we first moved out here, I used to be out there cussing that guy out. Yeah. It was so annoying because I like my peace and quiet that, during the holidays when he knew it really irritated me, it was meow, 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 meow. Yeah. It shows you guys working on myself. Me and Fonda like our peace and quiet. Like, we're getting older now. Like, we're not really party scene, but we can still throw down like anyone else on the fly. But, we're more like the hermit couple. We really are. Everyone calls us a power couple, but we're not sure what we feel about that. But we just stick to our boundaries. We look for people who are willing to earn our trust like we're willing to earn theirs. And that's something that's really far and few between right now. And you see it very easily on social media platforms. You just got to learn to look through people's fucking patterns, how they word things, how they talk about themselves in their post. You'll notice sometimes if I do an I post, I'll edit it, and usually when I edit it, it's R or us, because I don't really like talking about myself so much. Because when you let your ego get away from you, your narcissism comes out, and everybody has narcissism. Some people are predispositioned for full narcissism, and those ones are easy to tell online. For other people, it's like most of us. If you let yourself get too cocky, all right, what happens? You get beat up for it. And so never get too cocky when you're doing something. And that requires accountability, right? So I think, number one, people need to work on their personal boundaries on social media. I see a lot of people jumping into fights they shouldn't jump into. But like I said, that's on them. I'm not here to coach those younger teams. If those younger teams want to go after that, because that's fine. You go after all those subjects and all those topics. But I'm telling you, you're swimming upstream like the salmon. Okay, I've seen too many friends trying to brush arms with paranormal celebrities and paranormal royalties only to get shit on or used. Okay, so I'm just trying to put that out there. Okay, these are people I know of that have happened, and how do you think that would make you feel if it was you? Okay, and that's why I've never attempted it, because I've just kind of come up with the mindset that most, at least 90% of the paranormal community is not interested in working with other teams. None. Not at all. And I could be wrong, okay, but that's just what I see. 90% of them, it's all about them and where all their followers are at, etc., etc. I see about 10%, like I said, working on more positive stuff, etc. Now, as far as us and investigations, like we said, it's been a rough year. Fire Horse came through, and Mercury Retrograde came through, and some other things came through this year and stalled all our plans. But, that doesn't mean we're not good paranormal investigators. That doesn't mean our partners at Blue Mountain aren't good investigators. It just means life bombarded everybody, and we had to put things on hold, etc. It happens. So for us, here's an exercise. What is stopping us from really working on these things we've been talking about all podcast? Really nothing, if we think about it, besides the space in our head, Monica. With those voices, well, I'm not good enough, and well, I'm never gonna get there, and well, you have Mr. Depression back here, and I have Mr. Disassociative seriously on my end over here, and you just fucking suck, and you should just leave people alone forever, and you have to fight through those voices. No. I have a feeling that most people are dealing with a form of at least anxiety or at least depression out there. And again, I encourage you to talk about it. This is the age of man where we need to start conversation, not the lack thereof. And I don't mean conversation like all the podcasts are doing, the important interviewers, and that's all awesome. Okay, that's great. I love watching my friends and their teams rising and stuff, especially within the cauldron. Phenomenal. Those people are goals. Okay. But what I'm saying is, I don't see as many podcasters getting up here and being brave and talking about shit that hits people across the face. Why are we so afraid of talking about these things? Who cares if I have borderline personality disorder? Who cares if I have manic bipolar? Who cares if I have severe traumatic PTSD anxiety that prevents me from doing normal things most of the time? But yet I'm still able to fight through them on my own. Why is that so wrong when it comes to the rest of the world? Why is that got to be something that entertains people before they'll subscribe to a channel? On any given topic, whether it's paranormal or witchcraft, fuck it, we'll do the whole gamut. Why? Can somebody give your best guess? I've never been able to figure it out. Everybody seems to like your personality or like your energy or like something about you. Hold on. I was waiting for a third. I have allergies. I just go with it. So if you're enjoying this podcast so far, even getting off topic, and notice I'm getting better at reeling myself back in. So I know that, like, here's another example. Like, Chris wants more debating topics. That's awesome. But that's just not my thing, Chris. Because when I debate with people, I lose my temper. That's the truth. I can't do it. Because there's too many people out there who have the mentality of they're right and the entire world's wrong. And I've just experienced it too much with the Brotherhood of Male Witches to now I'm really picky. And people really have to earn my trust. My silence is never ignorance. It's especially around like groups of people I'm just meeting or don't know yet. I will stay almost completely silent until I'm spoken to. Because, hey, man, I don't know you. I may know of you, but I don't really know you like I know Monica and Chris and Matt and Tasha. And I haven't met you. So I think you should kind of want to earn my trust like I want to earn yours. And what I've noticed is that pattern is some of the chats are just, they're silent. Like people want you to chase them. And I guess I just don't understand it. It's not all the chats, but majority of them. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I quietly I don't say anything to the members of the chats, and I'm not going to list which chats, but I can tell you I'm a member of at least a dozen chats. Okay, Realm of the Occult. Okay, the Occult, the Brotherhood, Paranormal Witchcraft, Positively Witchcraft, Paranormal Research, Practical Witchcraft. Hold on, I gotta think. I'm friends with Between Two Worlds, Within the Cauldron, Dead Speak Tarot. I talk to all those people as much as possible. Liberty Awakening, there's a chat group for that, right? And then you add in any number of people from Moon or Kyle randomly or whoever on a daily basis, and again, gets kind of chaotic. I haven't looked in a while, so I'll show you guys because there's always. It's just nonstop. And I think a lot of other teams don't even think about that with me but it's true. It's a lot to handle. So there's about 15 good ones right now that we're sharing. And the rest, they just don't want to help us share, or they just kind of floated away. And it is what it is. I just recycle the groups that are giving us attention at the time, Chris and Monica and whoever's watching. And then I share the groups that are sharing us or watching us or working with us or friends with us. And that's how it works. Because, they're trustworthy. They're good people. I enjoy working with them. Makes sense. So, my friends, what's stopping us? Is it the fear of succession? In other words, are we all afraid of succeeding? I think partly that's kind of my big hassle is, well, here, I'll give you a prelude. I really want to sing, but I don't think I'm that good of a singer. And I have COPD. And so I can hold tone and I can hold note in certain songs in certain ways. And so I'm kind of bummed. And so it's something I think about every time I take a trip, and because I'm singing the whole way. But at the same time, it is also something that I get emotional about because like I get chills doing it because there's an energy that I love so much about doing it. And I can hear my intuition going, this is the feeling that makes me feel most alive. And I guess it just sucks that I view myself as not having the talents yet to get there. And so that is one of my secret things I'm working on, is working on that confidence and hoping that eventually one day it might open an opportunity. I have the energy. I have the personality. I have the personality, and it's not on purpose. None of it. And I've always loved singing. So as a child, I was in choir, and then puberty hit and changed all that. But I still do love to sing. I can like yell. Kind of like Breaking Benjamin, if that makes any sense, if anyone knows that. Kind of like in Man Out of the Box, where there's a lot of, I can raise my voice like that. And so I'm playing around with it as I drive down the highway and freak people out with the windows down, singing at the top of my lungs. So what's stopping me? Fear, my self-doubt, my overthinking maybe, etc. So what's stopping you from working on that responsibility during this retrograde? So is it the fact that when we hear retrograde, we just immediately subconsciously go, fuck, right? Because here's what you just did. You just manifested that. Instead, like our friend Chrissy, I love her, how positive she is. She talks about how retrogrades only affect us if we choose to allow them to affect us, right? And even then, sometimes it almost seems like they're affecting us. But the point is that she made the point is if you have a positive reaction to it, it may just leave you alone. What if you just respect the retrograde? It'll just leave you be. Or I'm probably butchering the way she said it, but I like her comment nonetheless about retrogrades and how we need to be positive. And that's what I love about Colleen, Medium Red. They're just so positive people. Sid, Beth Duenos, and Miss Jen Norman, like Matt and Monica, and Clay and Tasha. All you guys are all like family to me. In the last few months, especially with all the extracurricular collaborations that I didn't see coming. So thank you to all the teams for that. It means more than you would realize to a guy like me who is fumbling with technologies. But after this morning's conversation, I have more confidence than ever that me, Matt, and Monica will figure out this podcasting thing. 3 heads are better than mine going nuts. And Fonda's just honestly not as, she's about as good as I am. And so I'm going to have to dig deep. And, it's probably a pride thing that I don't want to give up on figuring out the technology stuff. So, guys, what is stopping us from doing that? The fear. Is it comfort? Do you have things going good right now? So why work on anything, right? You're maybe allowing yourself to just relax for a while. Maybe some of you are allowing yourself to find yourselves again. Could be. Again, a good thing you could do is get a notebook out. Now, you don't have to do the journal thing like we were talking in the beginning. AI suggests all that shit all the time. I probably should have just crossed it off, but I was literally racing to do a script. So thank you, Monica, for the idea. And so this is what AI does. You ask it a question, it throws you what you want. Now, the only problem is you have to read it and make sure it makes sense, make sure it flows, et cetera, et cetera. It does an okay job. And then what you do as a podcaster is you read from it, and then everything else you want to embellish on top of things like we have been doing all night, going this direction and that direction. And, I had to pull myself down from Passionateville because I started to get a little passionate back there. How I wish more of all my friends and family would just ignore all the capital P stuff going on and realize it's just people being people, and people do crazy shit to each other and immoral, insane shit to each other on a daily basis. And the fact that these people carry titles doesn't really make a difference to me. It's just there are people with those names who just happen to have a title that are just doing what people are doing on the streets to each other. So the fact that people get so appalled that all these rich idiots are doing it, you really shouldn't, because they're showing you how intelligent they truly are. They're showing you how much wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars on their personal degrees are really good for. They really didn't pay attention because they didn't learn a thing during any of their law school or whatever it takes to get there, because now they're turning around and they're all acting like children on camera. That's all they're doing. Okay? And they all kick and they all whine and they all complain. And then the next day happens and maybe it's a different country, but same thing. Those people doing the same thing. You've pissed in their Cheerios. Now the world has to suffer for it. Just let them go. Ignore them. Give them no power. You take someone's power away when you take personal power away from them. And you do that by giving their toxicities no attention, right? That's like allowing mass murderers to run the street right now with weapons in their hand, and then all of us saying we're okay with it, because that's what's going on social media. There's people creeping through everybody's feeds and groups, and it seems to be popular in the witchcraft and paranormal communities, probably anywhere that there's popularity going on when it comes to engagement, because it's more victims they can attack with their hacking and their scamming shit. And so they're logging in as paranormal teams. They're becoming practicers and trying to join groups. I can tell you, because in groups like the occult, we're turning away so many. Okay, because they just think it's a game. It's not. right? Some of them, especially if they're specific countries, are getting banned because that's where a majority of the hackers and scammers are coming from. Is that's what you got to do, right? So be careful online. I mean it. That's why I don't really talk until I go live, because you never know what you're going to post or what you're going to say or what you're going to do. All right. That's going to cause a problem. So I've just adopted saying completely less online. It doesn't mean I'm ignoring my friends, doesn't mean I'm ignoring other teams or any group. It just, I'm not playing the game. Doesn't interest me. It's like walking to work through a river of toxic sludge. Why would I do that if I don't have to? I'd rather walk along the banks and not get my fucking feet dirty. So there's really nothing stopping us besides something probably superficial, or the fact that maybe we haven't challenged ourselves enough. And that's easy to do. I rest on my laurels a lot. Where do we need healthy boundaries? Social media. We do. All right. And it shouldn't come from Meta. I'm sorry. We shouldn't let them make any more decisions for us, because it's like the world's governments that are making decisions for us. They're all doing a really bad job. Look at the UK and look at our country and look at other countries. They're all starting to really just put most of their population in oppressive forms very slowly and calling it progress. It's not. All right. So, guys, where do we need healthy boundaries? Everywhere. Everywhere. From the time you get in your cut. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm not trying to get everyone spun out in a cycle. So take a minute. Just trying to have a little fun with it too. Okay. But no, that's a serious question. You guys can answer in the comments. I don't see the problem with podcasting about dual diagnosis and recovery, and including it on a paranormal investigation channel like this. I don't see a problem with it at all. I happen to know that probably 30 to 40% of the communities are struggling with or have in the paranormal or witchcraft communities. Okay. And if you prove me wrong, I'll get up on camera and apologize to you guys, because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty accurate there. What we need is we need to have a voice where people know it's okay to come out and talk about it. Like myself, it's okay. No one's going to judge you here for that. I've seen some shit. I've heard some shit, and I've certainly done some shit that was pretty fucking despicable, and gross, and demoralizing, and life-threatening. Okay, so I'm no stranger to any of that violent shit. Like most people, I've gone through it. It doesn't mean that I had to become a product of my environment, which is what you're seeing in 50% of the population of the world. I'm just estimating when I throw those numbers out. I actually don't know. But I know I'm a pretty intelligent guy, and I have a thing with being pretty good about hunches, and that's one of them. I'm really good with time, which is weird. Like I can almost tell what time it is within the hour, and it's creepy. I've been doing it my whole life. It's weird. So question, where do we need healthy boundaries? For some of you, is it your family? Is it your friends? Is it work? Social media should be number one for everybody, because this is where people can invade your personal privacy. But again, instead of everybody over there just reporting you because they don't like your content, if you're doing this in social media, all right, and you're watching this podcast, would you knock off your immaturity, please? All right. You are a 25, a 35, or a 45, or even older sometimes human being that's reporting content because they're trying to build a channel, and you're reporting it. You ever thought maybe just sidebar messaging the account person and going, hey, just take me off your list? All right. I don't understand that trend. It's happened to me. It happened to me a year ago. I got restricted to the point where they were going to shut us down. I couldn't figure out why. And it was because I was sharing so many groups to so many places that it was said I was upsetting the high content creators. They wouldn't give me a reason why, what I said, or what I did. And the only thing I deducted, it was the fact that I was trying to like mass share multiple names of groups. All right. And so I think back then it was like Paranormal Chicago, um, Flying Chariots, The Rise, and a bunch of other podcasts, ours, Practical Witchcraft, Paranormal, all in one post 3 or 4 times. And they viewed that as we were being scamming or we were trying to solicit people. That's literally what they told me. That's what Meta told me. That's why ever since then, I don't say much on social media. Okay. Everything I've told you during this podcast is true. So help me gods and goddesses. I have no reason to lie. The platform might, but that's his business. So are we going to work on confidence? Are we going to work on our money? Are we going to work on our time management for the next 5 months? For responsibility. Some extra options. Recovering addict here. We have Yasminia in the crowd. Welcome. We have Christopher. We have Monica who says, I'm just sick of people being ugly to each other. Well, that's what I mean. There's so many chats. The ones that, it's just like, it's almost like nobody wants to breach any conversation. I don't know. I get the effect of like it's people just watching me. I don't know, in a couple of them, and it's like I don't like people watching me. And this is just the energies I get, like people because they don't know who you are. It's the passive aggressive game, and I don't do that. And so, I thought about making another post. Like I only talk when I'm talked to, but there's not many people that really are paying attention around me right now, besides the 15 good teams and groups. And the rest of them, so be it. They all think they're doing their thing. Leave them where they're at. Right? Boundaries. The question was, where do we need healthy boundaries? I went off on social media again. I apologize. Myself. That's where I'm working on the most boundaries. Like, instead of making posts like that where I'm like, F you, Meta, blah, 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 and then they just slap you with a ban, right? Or debating with other paranormal teams that are throwing hate internally in a chat or something. Why? All right. I had enough of that last year when 800 of them who said they were going to be friends walked away over a fight because they wanted to be right. Right. And I wanted to be happy. All right. And so I lost like almost 800 friends in the paranormal community because they called me an asshole for calling them out for being so fake and so sickening towards each other. And, that a lot of them won't be my friends. And again, don't follow paranormal witchcraft. Oh, yeah, I know who they are. I know what groups they are, and I know why they do it. And you know what? That's their karma. So where do we all need healthy boundaries? Social media is number one because that is like most people's lifeline right now. So that's why it's the number one answer. To be yourself. Recovering financial abundance. I like Chris's answer. Good idea, Chris. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with monetizing on TikTok or Facebook. I know a lot of people that are. I'm just giving you guys examples and feasible ones at that. Like I was talking about in the beginning of the podcast, like how easy it is for all these kids or whoever the fuck they are, all over these social apps, a lot of them coming from Instagram too, onto Meta, reporting people just because. I found out my hacker was reporting me myself. I was reporting my own groups, I think. And one of the examples from that person who was like, who does that? But Meta was accepting it, probably because a bot caught it, and there's no humans actually looking at a screen, right? So it's a wild world out there. Protect yourselves. Family, friends, social media, yourself. Now, Saturn isn't trying to say put yourself in a fucking box. It's not saying go hermit mode, go into your mental bunker and don't come out for 6 months. No, it's saying stop living in fear, is the undertone. Like Monica was saying at the beginning of the podcast, it's the year of the fire horse. All right. And we did a little ritual where people were supposed to have their saddle ready and their arms wrapped around like they're about to ride a fucking rodeo this year. Because when that eclipse came, we did a little ritual. Right. And a lot of people probably got left behind because they were too busy worried about whatever they were worried about. Right. And they missed it. They were too busy being new members of beginner witchcraft groups, fucking off, right, etc. Where do you need healthy boundaries? Probably everywhere. We've actually talked about looking at serious self-defense techniques next. Now I have self-defense training because I was picked on and bullied and beat up. And so I learned how to defend myself. And then I found weightlifting and realized my body's like an ant. And so since then, I've never had a problem. Have I lost fights? Fuck yeah, I've lost fights, but I've never backed down. But that was the whole point back then, because I couldn't stand up for myself. I couldn't not, and I was being bullied by women in some cases. Oh yeah. So from the person I was about 35 years ago to I am now, completely, entirely different soul. I've had to fight and claw to become Tobias. Now, real name is Toby. There's only a couple people that get to call me that. Danielle, Fonda when she's really pissed, and a couple others. But for the most part, Toby sounds like a fucking dog. And I'm nobody's dog. I'm nobody's bitch. I'm nobody's slave. And so Tobias just sounds better. And Toby is short for Tobias. I am not Hebrew. I'm Scandinavian. And yes, my eye is broken. So we all need healthy boundaries everywhere. And we're all, I think what we're seeing maybe online, Monica, I just realized this, is maybe that's what all of our friends and followers and groups are doing, because it's so quiet in groups. I mean, you could probably drop a pin in the Brotherhood and a few other groups right now. And the other factor of that is, there's multiple people out there grabbing overtime, extra hours, extra jobs to make ends meet, which means they're not on their social media apps as well. And so I truly believe in the future that we're going to see a rise of engagement again on social media platforms. And that's totally going to be indicative of when the world's going to stop bending us all the fuck over and saying we're going to fucking like it, because we don't. Okay, so when that's going to be, I'm not that psychic yet. I'm psychic enough to know when somebody doesn't like me and they're lying. So that's the type of psychic I am. And I will get its technical terms and stuff, etc. I think what I'm going to do, Monica, is work on my psychism in 2027. I'm going to devote next year to me. Excluding business partners, obviously, Blue Mountain, or Matt and Monica, whichever one it turns out to be here in the future soon, and Witchfinder Dating. But yeah, I haven't taken a year and really gotten into anything I wanted to metaphysically for a long time. So that's what I think I'm going to do next year, because that's something I've wanted to do. Go in and explore some other path works, explore some other abilities like psychism. It just kind of like jumped on me a year and a half ago, and it happens quite frequently now, and I have a little bit of control with it. Like I said, like I'm able to use it on social media enough to the point where I know there's enough people around me blowing smoke that haven't realized I've figured it out yet. All right. And so that's none of their business. All right. Perhaps I've just become an expert in my life, going through everything I went through the PTSD and all the violence with my father, trying to shoot my mom and throwing her downstairs and beating her 2 inches within her life in front of me. That's all good stuff. That's a real good thing to show your son. No, it's not. Okay. And I can describe that to you in detail right now. That's to show the rest of the world, Monica and Chris, that just because I have an affliction doesn't mean I can't be a good human being. I could have just in engulfed the rage my father left me, and I have in my past. I've let that monster come out, and it would have killed me if I let it, and that's where recovery came in, right? And then what I did is I fully embraced path about 10 years ago. I haven't looked back, and both of those two things have saved my life and have probably saved me from getting myself in a lot of physical issues. Because just because I may look and talk like a pacifist sometimes doesn't mean I'm an actual pacifist. Um, I'm no stranger to be bullied. That's why I stand up for so many people, because I was fucking bullied. If you think I wasn't bullied as somebody who's 5'2.5", 115 pounds, oh yeah. The only thing they didn't know is I was stronger than I looked. I weightlifted, and I was a black belt in Taekwondo, right? And so some people just had to fuck around and find out with me. Okay. I also have some street fighting skills, etc. But again, why do people have to be like, well, I'm a badass? And okay, great. What's that going to do for you in the world? If you're going to act like it, you got to be able to back it up, right? And so I learned after getting the shit kicked out of me for a couple of years and deciding to do something about it when I was 10 years old. And I learned that at a young age that I was going to have to fight for myself, and I wasn't going to have to care what the world said about me, no matter what. I learned that long before I was 10, but it wasn't until all that happened where it really cemented in, like, okay, the world's a really rough fucking place, and it's not going to get better. All right. That's why I tell people, I understand that some of our mentalities have a grip on us, like it does me sometimes. It'll just come out of the dark sometimes. I'll have a good streak for a few 6 months, and all of a sudden, either disassociative or borderline or bipolar comes along, and whoosh, all right, I gotta go away for a couple weeks, fucking deal with it. All right. What does Tobias do to deal with that? Well, I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of singing. I do a lot of grounding, a lot of reflecting. I ask myself questions during the pain, if it arises during those times. I let the tears flow and I ask them questions. Sometimes I yell at them, sometimes I scream at them. That's my process. Nonetheless, it's a form of transmutation, and after a few weeks, as you're witnessing tonight, I come out of a cycle and I'm calm, I'm collected, and I'm good to go. All right. Works for me, may not work for other people. Recovering addict, we have Chris Financial. Banned too many times. Well, it could be the multiple postings with multiple names. I hear the algorithm doesn't like that, and it views it as a form of scamming, which is hilarious since there's legitimate scammers and hackers in the feed right in front of them. So I'm not sure what it's going to take Chris and Monica for the algorithm over there to figure it out and give us a fucking, some fucking help over there. But we can hope, guys. You can hope that eventually the corporations will pull their heads out of their butts and they'll actually use a little bit of responsibility and straighten up their applications that they, said was going to bring people together. And now look at it. All it does is tear people apart. It's not really a community anymore so much as it is it's almost like verbal warfare on social media. I don't know. Hopefully I don't get, this episode demonetized or whatever for saying that, but I don't know what else to call it. The amount of toxicity on social media platforms is absolutely staggering, the stuff that is getting rewarded versus what is not. It's a puzzle to some of us. So, my friends, let me read the last question to you. Would you rather hear a comfortable lie or a comfortable truth? Which one would it be? Would you rather hear a comfortable lie or a comfortable truth? And the follow-up question is the reason. So, when did an uncomfortable truth actually improve your life? For me, it was admitting I was an addict. All right. There is a freedom in finally giving up your possession of drug use or drinking or sexual addiction or gambling. Whatever addiction you have is a very real form of living possession. It has control of your mindset to the point where you are willing to give up your own personal safety and security for its better good. You lose your house, your car, your job, your wife, you're homeless, right? Minus the sex thing. Now, the sex thing, I suppose if you broke into porn, that's how it would end. Either way, addiction will take everything from you, including your life, unless you stop it, right? So it makes you wonder, guys. I think a uncomfortable truth is something, if you're not comfortable with hearing those words, you should reflect on that. Because that means your spirit is in trouble. Maybe you're somebody who's new to social media. Maybe you're somebody who's a new practicer, right? Are you somebody who's coming from a religious background, or did you come to us being agnostic, meaning you didn't believe in God or anything? That is important, because what we're seeing is there's a lot of people that are being affected sometimes coming from the religious because they feel a spiritual pull still internally to the religious side. And so it is kind of like a form of spiritual confusion that we're seeing. People aren't sure which side they belong on. I'm just going to try to tell it to everybody straight. You're going to have to pick a side. Can't be two things. You have to be one or the other. Okay? Just some advice. You can try to be both. But when it comes to spirituality or the religion game, you have to choose. You're going to stay religious, or you're going to choose craft, Wicca, or paganism. Because you're saying you want to keep something you liked from that. And that sounds like a form of solitary practicism, right? Which is known as well. So, but my advice to make it less confusing for those people is that way, so you're not feeling so confused. You don't feel a spiritual pull. You should be feeling a spiritual acceptance when you're a new practicer. And the confidence is all on you. How much knowledge you get, how much seriousness you give the subject matter, the books, what people are telling you, the mentorship, the things they're asking of you, etc. You're going to do the ritual work. You're going to do the spell work. You're going to read the materials. You're going to tune in to the mentorship streams, or etc. So spiritual discipline, guys. When did an uncomfortable truth actually improve your life? For me, that was it. Crisis mode. Uh-oh. Be careful with that. So spiritual discipline. How often do you practice versus thinking about practicing? How often do you practice your practice versus thinking about practicing? Much like we've been talking about all night. So if we're going to go through the Saturn retrograde, you can't just sit back and expect things to get done for you. Your past stuff that's going to be coming up that you may need to be finishing up, it requires you to get through it, to finish it, to close it so a new cycle can begin. Maybe some of you need to go in and finish doing some more shadow work. Maybe some other people need to, look at a career change, like some friends, maybe my wife and my daughter are thinking about doing. right? There's a whole bunch of people on the planet that are looking for that kind of stuff. And I encourage that because I don't see a lot of the world or the world's governments as a whole looking at their people going, sorry, the world's so chaotic and it's hard on everyone but us. I don't see them doing it at all. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize, but I just see a lot of people struggling all over the planet. So how often do all of you practice versus thinking about it? I'm sure that's going to garner mixed answers for some of you. Examples of practicing, depending on what any of you do: energy work, reading, research, apothecary, journaling, shadow work, tarot, moon journal, meditation work, altar setups, meditations, grounding, you get the idea. Prana, take your pick. Just remember that Saturn rewards consistency, not perfection. So if you fall off the horse, get up and try again. Consistency is key, especially if you're coming to us as a practicer from the religious. It's the same thing like when you are on the other side. Got to have discipline for it to work. Saturn rewards consistency, not perfection. The Saturn challenge. Finish this sentence. If I stayed consistent for 6 months, this is something I actually tried on this channel in a different way. But the question is, if I stayed consistent for 6 months, at trying to, and here's some examples: lose weight, saving money, writing my book, growing my YouTube channel, healing myself from past traumas I'm still working on, maybe adopting more exercise, learning more herbs, getting the moon phases down pat, etc. Working on becoming a better paranormal investigator, learning a new investigative tool, looking up new places to go investigate at, anything like that. Changing routine. So, final reflection, my friends. Write down one thing that you're going to promise yourself you'll improve before December 10th. And I will commit to this as well. One thing I will improve. For me, I'm hoping it to be smoking. You can feel free to comment whatever you want in the crowd there. Not for me. Oh, damn it. Not for me, not for the chat, but something for yourself. Then ask, what's one word that represents the person you're becoming? So the examples are discipline, peace, structure, patience, caring, consistency, courage, growth, wisdom, purpose, balance, healing. And I would guess that for Chris, since you were thinking about finances, that would be growth. That would also require consistency. Interesting. Which would give you purpose. I like it. I like it. So, a journal is where you can write your commitments instead of just thinking about them. And so it's a really easy way of trying to double down on something you're doing in a micro goal setting. So I don't view buying a car a micro goal setting. That's kind of a big goal. Micro goal would be growing a channel, like I was talking about a few minutes ago. Planner or a calendar helps your discipline grow when you use a calendar. Like I use a calendar. Like if I'm invited on a podcast, I use my calendar. If I'm going to an event, I use my calendar. And then as I put it in my calendar, it helps my brain remember as well. And then I double down in the podcast at the end, like I'm about to do, and share podcasts and events, etc. So I also use it to help my discipline, but also for mental cues. That way it keeps my brain as young as I possibly can keep it, and keeps it thinking and trying to think. What is the word I'm looking for? I don't want my brain to be full of just anything. So I don't watch a lot of TV, and so you can tell I have a hard time articulating myself sometimes, but I think you guys get the idea. So we talked about the journals a number of times on this channel, even when we were doing tarot and other stuff. Some people like to use them for paranormal investigating as well. That way, some people can take down random notes in between setting up devices, etc. And while you're sitting there observing, maybe you observed something and Matt's looking the other way, or Monica's looking the other way, or Chris is looking the other way, and you'll see something. This way you can write it down with a notebook. So always good to have that on hand. So that was another example, nonetheless, that you could use for the Saturn retrograde black candle. For those who use candles in their practice, it's something you can use repeatedly during these energies until December 10th. This will help you for your protection and your focus. Recommends to carry black tourmaline or obsidian around if you're a fan of rocks and crystals. I know a lot of people of the general public out there are. So if you don't want to be affected by a Saturn retrograde, go find yourself some obsidian and some black tourmaline, two of my favorites. Carry them around. All right, guys. Saturn isn't asking us to become perfect. It is asking us to become consistent. How did I know that this was going to be about me getting back up here for a few more months? I kind of knew it this morning when I got up and did this live that, I'm pretty much out of this mental cycle and stuff. That's what I meant by saying what I just said. Ironic how the universe works around me. So as we finish tonight, friends, remember, Saturn isn't asking us to be perfect. It's asking us to stay accountable, stay responsible, stay ethical, stay kinder, stay caring. And you'll get through this Saturnian retrograde with ease. Whether you see the Saturn retrograde as a horrible astrological bringer of doom or influence, or however you look at it, or simply as a meaningful season for self-reflection, which is something I'm trying to work these into. Just added opportunities with retrogrades for us to reflect. And so that's what I'm trying to do myself. Why not? Right? Because that way, right, you and we should eventually find our own ways to manage through the retrogrades if they're affecting us. This last one didn't affect me too bad, but it truly fucked with a lot of people out there. Plans and podcasts and trips and all. Oh yeah. So you can create a table or a small altar, I guess. So you'd put a black candle, rosemary, black tourmaline, and a key. And you could do a small altar for the next 5 months and do it that way. Some people do that. As we finish tonight, remember for the third time, and that's why I say things in threes, because it's meant to repeatedly get the point across that the universe isn't constantly asking us to be perfect. And yet we live in a day and age where so many people are trying to be. They're trying so hard to be perfect. And I'm not sure that's exactly the route we want to take it when it comes to content creation, but nonetheless, some people choose to, I guess. I guess if they have the energy to do that, but man, it's hard. I can tell you that from doing this from January and we're in August, I mean, oof, all right. The mental health breaks are much needed. It is nothing but pressure because the world is nothing but pressure right now. Pressure to perform, pressure to buy, pressure to subscribe, pressure to follow, pressure to friend. All right. How does that help any of you? Think about that. What benefit does all that extra energy and work go to? Chasing everyone around. Do they even turn around and notice we're in the room? Probably not, right? You have to leave those people where they're at. I'm noticing that in the paranormal, the better teams seem to be middle-aged and more matured. And so that's comforting. I don't know if that's community-wide, but that's what I'm seeing. As we finish tonight, this self-reflection, the invitation is the same. Just like the last time we talked about the retrograde, slow down, breathe. Don't get so frustrated. Take a time out. Have an extra cigarette. Count to 3. It's not worth expelling the energy. Strengthen your personal foundations if you're having personal problems. If you're running into a lot of infighting on social media, you might have to look at yourself. Are you doing something wrong? Right? I've asked myself that multiple times. Is it me? All right. Sometimes it was, especially when a year ago when I would get screaming mad at people, right? Because I got tired of being shit on. And so I would get mad. Doesn't really do you any good, does it? Might feel good in the moment, but I can tell you it'll cost you a lot of relationships for doing it that way, even though you were justified. Yeah, I know it makes no sense, but it's the world we live in, man. So sometimes less is more when it comes to that. And, lesson 2, trust. Trust has to be earned. And I would encourage everyone to not just friend everybody who friends them. I know we want to, but we're living in a very dangerous time right now where there's a lot of people out there who are acting friendly, but they don't really have friendly intentions. All right. They're con artists of sorts. They want to friend you and they're probably, collecting you. You're probably most likely clickbait for their entity. And it's sad. I don't see enough people out there going, like I said, there's 15 or so good teams out there doing good, positive stuff out there in the paranormal field. And I'm honored to be friends with some of them. So, guys, the self-reflection is for us to slow down, strengthen our foundations, follow through on the commitments that matter most to us, not the shoulda, woulda, couldas. The things that are most important. Between now and December 10th, choose one habit. I chose smoking as my goal, or one relationship or one thing to improve on through consistency, through steady, disciplined, focused effort every day. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, everybody can still make it 5 minutes. It's not that impossible. Saturn isn't asking us to be perfect, it's asking us to go for consistency. And perhaps, again, like we've talked about many times on this channel, it's because the world is geared towards everybody seems to be stuck in instant gratification mode. If it doesn't gratify them instantly, they will pay no attention to it. And they think that is what life is. It's not. There's a whole life outside your house that's gorgeous. and there's birds, and there's animals that I feed, and there's stray cats, and there's a beautiful world out there that people are just ignoring for technologies. They're selling their literal souls to the platforms to get seen and to get heard. And you know, I'm not sure why, right? Some people want to, be on TV, maybe. I don't know. Some people want to do it so the celebrities will notice them. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's a race. It's a race for then what? Like I've said multiple times. When all this stuff changes and then podcasting changes again, then what? So everybody's racing right now like it's the Boston Marathon, and not even really sure where they're all running to. They're just all running and the mimicry, and it's just, how do you compete? Where do you fit in? How do you stand out? All those things are things I ask myself in a world where, I don't know, I just feel like everything looks so the same, similar. And I know it's not meant to be, but it does, because it's like, okay, then what? Because if we're all so unique and all so different, why do we spend so much time in mimicry stages? Like, I'm confused, right? So I worry about some weird things, I guess. So whether you see the retrograde as a bad influence, it's not. It's trying to teach us something about ourselves, and that's where people get pissed off. Well, I don't have time. Yes, you do. Everybody has time if you choose to, right? Problem is, most people feel they can't choose for themselves too. That's the difference. But they got to speak up, like our friends that speak up. They're working all the hours, they tune in when they can. That's great. That's what you want. And all the rest, you just leave them where they're at. You can't beg people online to do something they were never intending to do for you. And that's what I said. You only know their profile picture. Unless you know them like this and you talk to them like this on a consistent basis, do you really know them? Okay. So it makes you wonder, why don't people try to get to know each other more? I don't know. Beyond the 15 teams I've mentioned, I don't know. That boggles my mind. So I'm going to do smoking. I hope you each pick something that's a microdose, but feasible though. Feasible. Like, don't go try to become a millionaire in a year, Chris, because I don't know if that's a good way to try to do the exercise, but I think I understand what you meant. Thank you all for joining us here at Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. I think 4 in a podcast is a good number, especially for a podcast this size. So to the 4, I have no doubt you are 4 of my friends from places all abroad, whether it be social media platforms or wherever you're watching from. So I love each and every one of you that tuned in. And so what I've discovered is that I do, unfortunately, need StreamYard to do what I want to do with the podcast. And what I want to do with the podcast is at least have the screen share like everyone else, etc. And so it would make all these much more fun for you guys. And I want to try to make them more interactive. I like the game style, engaging conversations that we were having. And I want to try to revive that in a certain way, at least until the collaboration pieces fit together with Matt and Monica and the schedules, etc. And again, we're putting it into the universe that we're going to do this. And so I know the universe is listening up to us tonight and knows that positively paranormal, i.e. Matt, Monica, Tobias, Fonda, and I think a couple other friends are going to be doing a podcast. And so I'm going to be including Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. in that. And so it's going to be our collab podcast, and I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be phenomenal because Matt has me beat in spades when it comes to skill, knowledge. He's so much more of an elder in the community than I am. Well, I shouldn't say elder that way, but he's been around in the communities much longer than I have. Is probably a much more preferable way to say it. And so I'm honored to have so many open-armed, loving friends around me lately. So thank you so much for that. And to those who tuned in, thank you for your patience, your loving, your kindness as I went through this last mental cycle. This is something I've battled on my own probably since I was in my 20s because I just lost hope with psychiatry and psychology. It's all a money game. And like I said, medical field in general it's a lost cause. And so when these happen, I just kind of go into a little hermit mode and I do things that work for me. And I just find my way out of these things. So thank you to those people who are kind enough and respectful enough to wait for us to get back online on channel here. That being said, I have some friends out there who I'd like you guys to show some love to within the cauldron, Between Two Worlds, Wizard Rock Radio, Brother Sid Ryder, Beth Duenos. We have Colleen H., also known as Medium Red, and we have Jen Norman. And those guys from Between the Veil, I think I said it. It's Between Two Worlds, and I forget the exact name of their other podcast. And friends within the cauldron as well. Phenomenal people. And so I always enjoy plugging their channels at the end of the streams. Don't forget our older groups that we still plug from time to time. Practical Witchcraft from Paranormal Witchcraft teammate Sandy. We have The Occult from Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. I guess he's still a teammate, Kyle Kaczynski, if he's still out there. All right, he has a couple groups. The Occult. He has The Realm of the Occult, and that is his chat group on TikTok. And I can't remember, I believe it is the Left Hand Path Facebook group that he just created a few weeks back. We have Holly Faust, who has a couple books that she will be promoting in the next several days. She is our professional paranormal investigator. She spent, I believe, over 20 years out there in the field doing investigations. She has a podcast. She has a couple Facebook groups, I believe. Paranormal Chatterings with Holly, and her YouTube is Dead Time Tales. Who else do we have? We have Mr. James Reyes. I believe he runs a guild still. So if there's people watching, they're looking for mentorship into sorcery and stuff. I plug him occasionally. I'm trying to think of Stephen Blevin's group. It is Paranormal Research and Witches Roundtable Group. And who else do we have to plug today? My old friend Jack Chavez. If you're looking for things to do in the Chicagoland greater area, and by saying that I mean Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, I would refer you to Paranormal Chicago Group. I believe there's enough paranormal investigators nestled in that group that come from states around us. And so I've been meaning to plug old Jack's group for a couple weeks now to let people know that's a pretty good place to go if you're looking for other teams that are in and around our states. Other than that, my friends, that's all I got. So I believe the podcast is going to be called Positively Paranormal, but that could change. We'll see. We'll see. So have yourselves a beautiful evening, and we will see you on the next one. So Chris, I think what we'll do for Brotherhood of Male Witches, like I was saying earlier, is we'll focus on the full moon, and we'll focus on Lamaze coming up, and we'll do something little for the Brotherhood of Male Witches. Notice how it's only around Wheel of the Year and stuff that we get their attention in group, because I spotted a long time ago in group on Facebook in the Brotherhood that engagement was dying because of the world and the changes that were coming and specifying AI, etc. Right? Why would anyone really want to engage in the Brotherhood of Male Witches right now when they can go off and do their own witchy things and create their own witchy things, right? And we don't allow that. And so I suspect that's it's AI kind of did a lot of damage that way because we don't allow it. Because, if we did, we would probably have a lot of people engaging in there right now, because I happen to know that, there's probably 70% of the planet at least using AI or looking at AI. And so not surprised. So solving the engagement riddle is that engagement may never ever go back to the way it was before the epidemic. That's the truth. Is it may never get to the point where in groups it's going to be like this, where you have 4 or 5 people talking to you on a subject at one time all day long. It's just, I'm not sure that's ever going to come back. That's why we were talking about the chats too. I've seen a huge decrease in conversation in all the chats over the past few years. I'm not sure what it is about people's minds, but they have just quite literally just started interacting differently and markedly towards each other. And like I said, it's got to be some form of fear that people don't speak up, or I don't know, maybe it's ego clashing. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I'm not sure the world's ever going to go back to what people would call high engagement back in the day. I think we are in a shift, and I'm not sure where we're going to come out. So we will see, guys. I think the shift is people are looking explicitly for social media or live stream content only from groups on social media. So unless you're doing a live, you're really not going to get too much attention. And I think that's part of the problem. And like I said, that creates a problem, because then people start, oh, who the F are you? We don't know you. They start calling you names. And so you have to be willing to take all that shit when you're going to do that. So maybe that's part of the engagement problem, right? That all ties back into the passive aggressive shit. So we will see. Nonetheless, I've talked enough today. Thank you once again, Matt and Monica, for the phenomenal conversation this afternoon during my cleanse. And I look forward to the coming weeks for that coming forward. Chris, thank you so much for everything you do on social media platforms and as moderator of this channel. I do appreciate you, even if sometimes you may not feel like I do. I want you to know that I do. And then obviously at our friends that we've already plugged, I love each and every one of you out there. Thank you once again for tuning in. And I think what we'll do is I'll do another one on Friday this week for Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. And then what I will do is I'll do another separate for the Brotherhood. It's been a few weeks for the Brotherhood. That full moon's up there. We have Lamaze showing up. So that's something we can do for the Brotherhood. And we'll tie it to the Wheel of the Year. I don't really do much beyond that because, like I said, the engagement and the world has made it very complicated when it comes to engaging online, and especially in groups. Like I said, people are working multiple jobs. People have multiple stressors that are taking their mind away from doing things they used to do, which is spending more time on social media platforms. So people should be patient, but also expect that it may never go back to the way it was before. It was, it was good. The epidemic came through, all right, and it seems to have been a shift since then. We will see. We're headed towards a new wave of who knows what the hell we're headed for. But I'm just here to enjoy the ride, encourage a little positivity in the paranormal and witchcraft communities if we can. Have these nice informal long chats with some of our friends and followers from different groups on Facebook. And we talk about things that no one else really is interested in talking about, wants to talk about, or has thought about talking about. And mental health and dual diagnosis and recovery warrior stuff. I believe that's important because that has formed a lot of us within the communities. I should probably just say pagan communities and paranormal communities. A lot of us have come from rough upbringings, right? Some traumas, there's some anxieties. So a lot of people are no stranger. I've noticed it's almost a predisposition to either become somebody who's going to practice or somebody who's going to become an investigator, or what you're seeing in the next or in the past year, especially is hybrid teams like us, where we're paranormal witchcraft. I'm a practicer. I form Brotherhood of Male Witches. And so it just made sense to call ourselves paranormal witchcraft because I practice witchcraft. But then the whole world didn't get it. And so then I started using Welcome to the Jungle, and that confused people even more. So we'll talk about that another day. It was an honor to get up here and talk to you guys after a few weeks. Everything is fine when I go away for a couple weeks. It's nothing that's, it's not like a suicidal thing. It's just a really bad flare up of manic bipolar. This last time, I believe it was the dissociative kicking in. So I apologize for that. So nonetheless, I always get back up. I take a knee and stand back up. I don't always fall completely to my knees anymore like I did as a child. And I certainly try not to let my mental deficiencies dominate me too much anymore. But I appreciate the love, the encouragement, and the support over the past few weeks. And on that note, we will see you on the next one, which will be Friday, the 27th. Well, I'm not going to try to do it off the top of my head on a podcast. We will see you on Friday with another episode from Paranormal Witchcraft LLC. We'll probably be talking about Key City Steampunk event. And before I go, don't forget to go check out our friends at Witchfinder Dating Social Coven. They are looking for anybody in the paranormal and pagan community who is looking for a place where you would like to enter a community of diverse individuals, very similar to social media, but without all the drama. Okay, and so we plug them at the end of every live stream as well. And I know they are working on some changes for their membership as well. But I encourage you people to go check them out. They're on the App Store and our buddy Sid Ryder's app, Wizard Rock Radio. All right. Go support brother Christopher Stant at SPI Investigations as well. And I believe I've covered everybody I love, I love, support, and care about as far as content creators, their groups, and our other friends that we're sharing. So have yourselves a beautiful evening, and we will see you Friday, and we'll talk about the events and the paranormal stuff, most likely, that we'll be trying to get into. Have yourselves a great afternoon, my friends, or a great evening at this point. Tobias Josephson, and remember, Paranormal Witchcraft LLC, this is the channel where we approach the paranormal differently. Our protocols, trademarked, are containment over chaos, evidence over ego. We use that in our investigations, and we use that if we use crafts in the field as well. Have a great night. See you on Friday. Blessed be, my friends.